Hello everyone and welcome to another very exciting game from round 10 of the 2020 Online Nations Cup by FIDE and chess.com. It's Fabiano Caruana versus Wang Hao, both of them participants of the 2020 Candidates Tournament, and it's very interesting. They will be repeating one of their games from the Candidates Tournament. Well, it's very important for the standings to see if the United States will be able to qualify for the super final. And also, since on board one, Hikaru Nakamura already lost his game to Ding Liren, so Fabi definitely needs a win to equalize or more. So without further ado, let's check it out. Fabi with the white pieces opens with e4, and I didn't think I'd show any more games from round 10, but we kind of forgot to mention the standings in the previous video, and when I say we, I mean me. That's also one of the reasons why I decided to show it, but also it's just a very nice game. So e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov defense, the same as he played against Fabiano in the Candidates Tournament. Knight captures on e5, the main line, and now d6. Kicking back the knight, we have knight to f3, and now knight captures on e4. And here, knight to c3, the Nimzovich attack against the Petrov, same as Fabi played in the Candidates Tournament against Wang Hao. Knight captures on c3, d captures, and the bishop to e7. So far, everything the same. Both players just keep on developing. Bishop e3, castles, and queen to d2. Preparing queenside castle, we have knight to d7 and just queenside castles here. We have knight to f6 and bishop to d3 now. So everything exactly the same as in the Candidates Tournament. c5 and rook h to e1. Fabi's pieces have been fully mobilized, and bishop to e6. Wang Hao still needs to develop the rooks, and he will also complete his development. And here in the Candidates Tournament, Fabi went for this king to b1 line, where after queen a5, the queens got traded off. And so on. But here Fabi prepared bishop to f4 for this game, and it's a new move, so already as of move 12 we have a completely new game. And now it's Wang Hao's turn to see what this means or doesn't mean for the position. Obviously, we've introduced another attacker to the d6 pawn, which is a weak pawn for the moment. But as Fabi decided not to bring his king to a safer square or play c4 for that matter, d5 is a possibility here. So Wang Hao takes this opportunity to play d5. He doesn't want to be left with the weak d6 pawn. So knight to g5 by Fabi, and here comes, as the bishop is under attack, bishop to g4. Now it's interesting why bishop to g4, and this is one of the weirder moments of the game, at least for me. Here the engine suggests, for example, c4, and after the bishop moves, then you just move the bishop to d7. Now, I don't have a problem with bishop to g4, but it's weird because we have castles of opposite sides. So by playing bishop to g4 and attacking this rook, you are forcing f3. And the white wants to play f3. Even if you don't play bishop to g4, white wants to play f3, make some support for g4, play h4, h5, g5, and so on. So by playing bishop to g4, it just seems weird to help Fabi start his expansion on the king's side. But okay, we have f3 and now bishop back to d7. So maybe now, after the bishop comes to c6 and let's say Fabi pushes g4, maybe the idea is that the f3 pawn will be a target, but it just looks a bit weird. But okay, we have c4 now by Fabi, not allowing c4 by black, so his bishop remains on this diagonal. And now d4, preparing to bring this bishop over to c6 to grab hold of this diagonal. With h4, Fabi starts expanding on the king side, and now rook to e8. And g4 now, so the f3 pawn really doing a nice job in helping the expansion. We have bishop to c6. Now okay, this pawn is a target. If, for example, h6, maybe you can get rid of the knight and win the pawn. But we have queen to h2. And now it's a question. What really happens if h6 is played? Now, can you just remove the defender of the f3 pawn and maybe grab this pawn? The idea is that if you play h6 here, then there are well, a lot of interesting tactics, like you could play bishop to c7, but also just knight captures on f7 followed by g5, busting open the position seems like a possibility. So instead of h6, we have queen to a5, just going after that a2 pawn, and Fabi now needs to react. You don't have time for any craziness on the king side. So here it's between king b1 and a3. Fabi decides for a3 instead of moving the king, and now bishop back to f8, adding one more defender to the g7 pawn, and also now preparing to trade rooks along the e file. Fabi first goes bishop to d2, kicks away the queen, queen to b6, and now queen to f4. Now, you don't really worry about h6, but here we have bishop to d7 backed by Wang Hao, and now it's a problem because now, well, his position is just lost. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the idea Fabi played while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on not playing knight captures on f7. This is what I thought, but it's not, because if knight captures, king captures in g5, then black has this very nice bishop to d6. Now you kick away the queen, and the knight will be free to move since the queen cannot remain here to keep pinning the knight. So instead, we have bishop captures on h7. Now this is the correct idea. So congratulations to everyone who found it, and also to those of you who just want to enjoy the show. Point is that if it's captured, then you get queen captures on f7, king h8, and queen h5, and there is no preventing checkmate. Your only hope is queen h6, but then just knight f7 check, and you pick up the queen. So instead, after bishop to h7 check, we have king to h8, and now comes bishop back to f5. Now, again, with the threat of just knight captures on f7 check remaining, and black has to figure out how to deal with this. So first, Hao captures on f5, we have queen captures on f5, and now king back to g8, keeping an eye on the pawn. The knight covers h7, so there is no checkmate. And here, again, while you could capture on f7, it's too early for it, because again, after king captures g5, then you have g6. And now, again, you don't have a good square for the queen. If you go back here, then just bishop to d6 again is an option. So here you would have to settle for captures, captures, and captures, and just play this endgame. Being up a pawn, of course, white is still better, but Fabi can do better. So instead, he doesn't like the idea that after knight sacrifices that black can play g6. So here Fabi first prevents g6 by playing h5, and now the threat remains of knight captures on f7. And Wang Hao could try something like queen c7 to keep an eye on the pawn, then let's say bishop f4, and then queen d7 to trade queens, and then go into this endgame. So this is a possibility. However, Hao played queen to c6, and now Fabi just goes for it, but black seemingly not interested in the attack. But okay, Fabi goes for it, knight captures on f7, we have king captures, and only now g5. And here, Hao played queen to d7, now offering a trade of queens. So if you capture the knight, the queen is hanging on f5. But here, Fabi said, okay, no problem, I'm just going to play queen to g6 check. And it was in this position, on move 28, that Wang Hao resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The king is in check, you have to move the king, and once you move it, the g captures on f6 is coming, and just everything falls apart for black. Not much point in playing this. For example, if queen f7, trying to trade queens, you can just go f captures on g7, and it's a pretty bad position. Bishop captures on g7, you can go queen back to g5. Now you can bring the rook over here, push h6. It's unplayable, and Wang Hao knows this. So after queen to g6 check, he resigned the game. So yeah, really exciting stuff. And so I don't forget, in this video, here are the results of round 10. So as you can see, Russia defeated India with 2.5 to 1.5. We've seen the game Artemiev versus Vidit, that brutal attack, and also Andreikin defeated Adiban. China lost to the United States. Dingliren defeated Hikaru Nakamura on board 1, but then Fabiano, Caruana, and Wesley So defeated Wang Hao and Yu Yangyi, and Zhu Wenjun and Irina Krush drew their game. And we have a draw between Europe and rest of the world, with Firuja defeating Aronyan and Yang Krzysztof Duda defeating Basem Amin. So that's for the results of round 10, but also here we have the standings after 10 rounds. So as you can see, China in the lead with 17 match points, followed by USA and Europe with 13 points both, but USA has 22 additional points, those are board points, and Europe only 21.5. So by half a point margin, USA is qualified into the super final. So now we will have United States against China in the super final of the Nations Cup, which we are of course going to cover. Some of the games, the nicer ones, of course. So feel free to use #suggestion if you spot a nice game. I will also do my best to keep track of them. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Rafael Burdillo, Christian Hammer, Doug Hughes, 1998, and Chirag Mittal for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Nations Cup until it ends. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your Sunday.